Greetings, everybody. My name is Raun Kaufman, and welcome to You've Got Some Nervous System, where we cover mental and emotional well-being, nervous system regulation, and also communication. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about all of the hidden benefits to sitting with your unhappy emotions like sadness, anger, fear, even stuff like anxiety. Now listen, nobody likes this. Nobody likes to do it. Nobody likes to talk about it. They don't want anything to do with it. They don't want anything to do with their unhappy emotions. You know what I'm talking about? And this is important because the thing is that most of us, I've been working with people for 30 years. Almost everybody spends their life trying to get away from their unhappy or uncomfortable emotions. And I understand why. That's not weird that people do it. I totally get it. It doesn't feel good to feel those things. We're trying to not feel that. But there are other reasons too. For instance, sometimes we feel like we're not supposed to feel it. It's not appropriate to feel it. Sometimes we were raised in families where certain emotions were forbidden to be felt and expressed. So there's lots of reasons why we do it. And there's lots of negative side effects toward running away from or avoiding or stepping on your emotions. We're not going to talk about all those today. We'll do that on a different episode, because today I want to stick to the positive side. The positive side of what are all the hidden benefits, and there are plenty, of actually being able to and practicing sitting with an unhappy or uncomfortable emotion. All right, my people. And actually, by the way, there are 4 of these reasons. Stick around for the 4th one. You're going to really like the 4th one. This is the 4th one is the one I get the most feedback. I'm saving it for last because it's kind of the longest explanation, but it's the one I get the most feedback on of like, wow, this really changed my day-to-day life. But all 4 are quite helpful. Before I dive into the 4, I thought it would be helpful of just to clarify, what am I even talking about when we're talking about sitting with an unhappy emotion, right? We know what unhappy emotions are. We know what uncomfortable emotions are. But what does sitting with it actually mean? And I thought it would be helpful to give you the deeper definition and also a more superficial definition that might be easier for you to start with. Now, the real deep definition of what sitting with an emotion actually looks like is just this. Let's say you feel angry or sad, like I said, or scared or frustrated or whatever. What sitting with that looks like is, instead of trying to either talk your way out of it, think your way out of it, think about something else, distract yourself by watching something, doing something else, instead of doing that, actually letting yourself feel the emotion. And even more so, if you can do this is incredibly powerful if you're able to do it. Even more so, actually, close your eyes if you're able to. Close your eyes. This doesn't have to take long, though. We're talking about 2 to 4 minutes if you want to keep it short. But basically, closing your eyes, let's say you're feeling sad, right? So you close your eyes, you notice the sadness. You notice where it is. Like, you're gonna feel it somewhere. But here's the interesting thing. If you feel a happy emotion, oftentimes you're gonna feel it body-wide. You're gonna feel it everywhere. But if you feel it, an unhappy emotion, you're gonna feel it somewhere. So oftentimes a happy emotion will be felt everywhere, but an unhappy emotion will always be felt somewhere. What does somewhere mean? You might feel it in your stomach. It might even be more precise than that. You might feel it in your upper abdomen or your solar plexus, or you might feel it in your lower stomach. You might feel it in your chest. You might feel it in your throat, right? There's different places you can feel. There's not a wrong and a right place, by the way, to feel any particular emotion. But the point is you are going to feel it somewhere. You're going to feel it somewhere. So what sitting with it means is actually tuning in to, well, wait a minute, where do I feel it? Let's say it's your upper abdomen or solar plexus, right? So, okay, notice I'm feeling sad right there, or I'm feeling frustrated right there, whatever. I'm feeling something right there. So sitting with it means noticing that, sort of saying that to yourself, oh, I'm feeling sadness, and I'm feeling it in my solar plexus or in my chest. And then, if you can, this is hard for a lot of people, I'm not claiming it's easy, actually tuning in a little bit and noticing, well, what do you actually feel? Like, what does it feel like there? Does it feel tight? Does it feel like turmoil there? Does it feel hot? Does it feel, does it have a color even sometimes? Sometimes it'll be black, sometimes it'll be red, right? You just notice everything and just pay attention to it. Paying attention to it, guys, people, is different than trying to do something with it. I'm not talking about trying to make it go away, trying to breathe it out, trying to let it out. This is just about paying attention to what is, not trying to change what is. So you're just going to pay attention to it. You're going to notice it. And you're going to notice some things happening if you do that. So oftentimes, especially if you're not used to this, what will probably happen is as you tune in, it will actually get bigger for a couple of minutes, which is the hardest part. That's the part most people hate, because then you feel the emotion even more. The very emotion that's already uncomfortable for you, you're going to feel it even more. You got to hold on through that and stay paying attention to it. Okay, it's kind of just notice it. Once you let it get bigger for a while, that will usually change. How will it change? It's going to depend. It might move, it might grow bigger, it might shrink smaller. Sometimes what will happen if you can stay with it long enough is sometimes it will completely dissipate. That doesn't mean you don't have a deeper emotional issue to work on, possibly if it's a deep like childhood trauma related issue, then just paying attention to it doesn't like cure all of that. But what you might end up noticing is that it either dissipates or lessens in the moment. So you're gonna notice this kind of thing. If it doesn't dissipate, by the way, that's okay. You're not doing this to try to get rid of it. I'm just telling you what you might notice, but you're not doing this to get rid of it. You're trying to just pay attention to it. You're just trying to pay attention to it and notice what happens to it and not try to do anything with it. You certainly don't want to fight it. Right? So that's what actually fully sitting with it is. Right? And I'm going to say something else about sitting with it a little later that's kind of interesting, but I want to hold off until we get to benefit number 2, the hidden benefit number 2 of sitting with your emotions. So that's what sitting with your emotion actually is. However, if you don't feel up to that yet, which is totally fine, the more superficial definition of sitting with your emotion is just being willing to have the emotion, have it, be with it, and not try to do anything to make it go away. That's what sitting with it means at even just the most basic level. You have the emotion, you're not trying to do anything to make it go away or to avoid it or to distract yourself from it or anything other than being willing to just have that emotion. Let's say you're sad. Just being able to have that emotion for a little while. I know that sounds pretty basic, but almost everyone doesn't even do that part, guys. They don't even do that part because, again, people are racing to get away from their uncomfortable or unhappy emotions most of the time, right? So let's talk about what some of the benefits, because now I've just described it, you're probably thinking, this sounds like crap to me. Like, why would I want to do that? Actually, I'd rather distract myself away from feeling it. It doesn't feel good to feel that emotion. Plus, I often have judgments, maybe from my childhood, about how it's not okay to feel that emotion. Like, hey, I don't want to feel it. So let me try to convince you, you little beefcakes. Let me try to convince you by telling you what some of these benefits are. Before I go into the benefit, I just want to do a quick disclaimer, which is if you have a diagnosed mental illness, if you have a diagnosed by a professional, diagnosed mental illness, I would put what I just said kind of to the side for a bit, in the sense that there are situations, if you have a mental illness, where just going into and fully feeling your emotion can create problems for you. So I wouldn't then do what I just recommended without talking to your therapist or professional or a doctor. Okay, just to be very clear about that. But if you don't have a diagnosed mental illness, I would encourage you to check this out. Think about this. Consider this. So here are the four hidden benefits of sitting with your unhappy or uncomfortable emotions. All right, people? So here's number one. Number one is, and this is the most basic thing that happens, and it surprises a lot of people, is that you will see that the emotion you're feeling is just an emotion and can't hurt you or anyone else. We're like very scared of our own emotions and our own emotional life. And so we're, again, especially with unhappy or uncomfortable emotions, we're afraid of them. We don't want to feel it. We almost think like they're dangerous to us or maybe to the people that we love. Your emotions in and of themselves are not dangerous, right? So for instance, let's say you're thinking, I don't want to get angry. If I get angry, I'm going to yell, or I'm going to say something not nice, or blah, blah. So I want to stuff my anger. I don't want, but that's not actually true. If there are many people that yell or say not nice things when they're angry, for sure, or slam doors or do whatever they do. But that is not the anger that's doing that. The anger is the feeling, right? We're just talking about emotions right now. I'm not talking about the actions you're taking. The actions we take, often in our popular culture, we connect them to the emotion, like, oh, I got angry, so I screamed at him. But actually screaming at him, while it often happens, people often do it when they're angry, that is not anger. That's our action. That's not the feeling. You can be really angry and not actually be screaming at someone. That is the depth of that subject is for another episode. So I'm not going to go do a deep dive on that right now. But just to know, you can be angry, you can be sad, you can be scared, and it's actually just a feeling inside you. So it can't hurt you. It can't hurt people that you love and care about, because it's just an emotion that's happening inside of you, right? Even if you're really angry or upset with your partner, for instance, the upsetness by itself cannot hurt your partner, right? You might do something hurtful to them, but that's different than the feeling. That's your action, right? That's a different conversation. That's about how you behave, and which is a worthy conversation, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the internal emotion. And here's something to be really, really cognizant of when we're talking about unhappy emotions, which is that all unhappy emotions, they're messages from your nervous system. They're not something going wrong inside of you. Oh, I'm feeling this way, something's wrong. It's actually not a sign that something is wrong. Like, it's not a symptom. Sorry, it could be a sign that something's wrong, but it's not a symptom of something going wrong. It's not like you shouldn't be feeling this or this emotion's bad for you. It's just a message from your nervous system. And here's what here's the sort of overarching theme of the message, which is that there's your nervous system, which is trying to help you survive, trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you in balance, trying to keep you in sync. What it's sending you a message that says, hey, something's out of whack. Something's out of whack here. And there's something that you would need to do or to have or to pay attention to get back in sync. That's all it is. Now, the specifics of what's out of whack, that can vary. And we're going to have, in just a couple of weeks, we are going to have an episode that's all about the 7 main messages that your nervous system is sending. One of those 7, not all 7 at once, but the 7 possible main messages that your nervous system is sending you through unhappy or uncomfortable emotions. Right? So we don't need to know all that for now, except the overarching idea that something's out of whack. There's something you would need to do or pay attention to get back in sync. So it's sending you that message. When you step on that message or try and get away from it, your nervous system is forced to try to raise the volume and do different things to get this message across. It will either raise the volume consciously or will do things in your autonomic system, almost all of which are unpleasant, right? So you want to be aware of just taking in, like, hey, these emotions I'm feeling, this is a good thing. This can't hurt me, can't hurt the people I care about. It's a good thing, especially if I'm willing to actually feel the emotion and listen to my nervous system rather than fight my nervous system. Okay, so that's number one. Number one, you're going to see that emotions are just emotions. They cannot and will not hurt you, and they cannot and will not hurt people that you love and care about. That's number one. Number two, hidden benefit of sitting with your unhappy emotions, my people, is you will start to detect this message that your nervous system is sending you. Now, again, I'm not saying that there's only exactly one message. Like I said, there's at least 7 different kinds of messages, but they're all versions of that message I just explained to you. And right now, you probably have no earthly idea what that message is. And that is totally normal. Don't sweat it. You've spent a lifetime ignoring that message, stamping that message out, and turning away from that message. So it's not weird that you would not know that, right? But here's the cool thing. The more you get used to sitting with your unhappy emotions, you're going to start to build up this kind of muscle. It's not really a muscle, but sort of muscle / detection system it's called building your interoception, which is that perception of the messages being sent to you. So here's the thing. The more you do this, the more you get practice with it, you will start to get better at least getting an inkling of what's my nervous system trying to tell me here with this emotion. Right? So that will be, it will surprise you sometimes. It will be helpful to you. It will be practically useful. It will sometimes be exciting to you even. And you're gonna know yourself and your nervous system best, and you're gonna know what you and your nervous system and your body and your brain need more once you improve this system of detection. Okay, this type of interoception, once you improve that. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, this is another one that people are kind of shocked by, which is you're going to notice, again, this is it with practice, not if you just do it once, but you're going to notice if you start getting used to sitting with your unhappy emotions, that you're going to notice yourself ruminate, you're going to ruminate and you're going to overthink less frequently. You're going to ruminate and you're going to overthink less frequently. Why? Why is that going to happen? Well, a few things. So Kate C. Wild and I have a nickname for the 4 most common types of overthinking and rumination. We call them the 4 horsemen of the neuropocalypse. The 4 horsemen of the neuropocalypse. And people like to do these 4 types of rumination. Right? For instance, one of them is futurizing and thinking about bad things that could happen in the future. That's one of the 4 horsemen. Right? Again, this isn't a talk all about the horsemen, so I'm not going to do a deep dive, but just to understand, this is super common. Certainly nothing wrong with you if you are ruminating and overthinking, but it's not pleasant to ruminate and overthink. It's kind of stress producing and stress inducing, right? So instead of trying to get yourself to stop doing that, if you just get better at sitting with unhappy or uncomfortable emotions, you are going to find that you do it less frequently without even trying to do it less frequently. Why is that going to happen? Because what rumination and overthinking are is a type of misuse or using your brain wrong. You're using the prefrontal cortex, the planning and problem solving part of your brain. You are using it to think which is good. That's a good part of your brain for planning and problem solving, but you're using it to think your way out of and think your way away from an unhappy emotion. That's not what it's for. That's not what that part of your brain is for. So when you use it to try to think your way away from or out of an unhappy emotion, it actually does not get rid of that emotion, guaranteed, will not solve that emotion. But what it will do is it will add an additional layer of stress, anxiety, and dysregulation, because now you're spiraling on these thoughts, right? And you'll know that a thought is this kind of thought if it's, number 1, stress-inducing, and number 2, repetitive, right? If you're using your problem-solving and planning part of your brain to actually problem-solve and plan, it's not going to stress you out. It will often feel really good. And it will also not be repetitive, right? If you're going to plan a day out or create a plan for your business or whatever, then you think about it for a while you're planning that, but you don't repetitively have the same thought. If you think I'm going to make tuna fish sandwiches for a picnic and you plan that out, you don't then go, I got tuna fish sandwiches for the picnic, right? You don't do that, right? Because you're not using your planning part of your brain, in that case, to get away from an unhappy emotion. So you think about it once, you don't repetitively think about it, right? So it has those 2, the stress-inducing and repetitive. You're going to notice yourself doing it less if you practice this sitting with your unhappy emotions. Okay, now, the 4th one, this is the one I told you guys is everybody's favorite. It has deep practical utility in your everyday life. I'm telling you guys, it's awesome. It's really helped me in my life in 100 different ways. So let's talk about what this is. Oh, and before I do this, before I jump into this, I want to just tell you guys one quick thing you may not know about. So on October 3rd, that's a Saturday, me and my colleague, Kate C. Wild, we are going to co-teach a 1-day course called Emotional Self-Defense. Emotional Self-Defense, right? And it's all about how to, working from the inside out, how to actually take care of yourself and your well-being in a world that pushes your boundaries and gaslights and manipulates and does, guilt trips you, does all these things. Most people think that they either can't do anything about it, or in order to do that, they have to like get really tight and kind of stick up for themselves right? And so people go down a road that they don't like, right? They either let themselves be doormats and treated in different ways that they don't like, or they fight in a way that feels stressful, conflict laden, not good to them, and neither of those feel wonderful to the person doing them. Right? So what we're going to do in this course, again, it's just a one-day course, but it comes with a lot of handouts and helpful things that you get to keep forever. And it's live. It's live via Zoom, just FYI. Although if you sign up and, at the last minute you can't get there, we will record it. So you will have, I think, 2 weeks to watch it after it happens. You don't have it forever because it's participatory. It's not just us lecturing. You're going to get a chance to participate. So we wanted you to feel comfortable that your privacy was going to be respected, and so we don't want it just sitting on the internet for 5 years, 10 years, right? So it sits there. You get to access it for 2 more weeks if you miss something, or you just want to repeat something. But you'll get the handouts forever, though, and the handouts have all the detailed information too. So it's going to be, it has a cool thing, the way it's built. It addresses some of what we're talking about today, which is how do you sit with an uncomfortable emotion so that you don't act in a way that isn't what you want, right? So that's part of it. And then we get into the practicalities of what do you actually do in these situations. For instance, we have a section in the course called non-defensive communication. So it's a way for you to take care of yourself, take care of your well-being if someone's attacking you or criticizing you or giving you feedback or whatever, in a way that it clearly protects and supports you, but doesn't involve you having to get defensive. That's just one piece of it. So this is just, I want to let you know, I'm gonna put the website here. Go to the website, go take a look at it, and there's also a deeper write-up about the course. You can also sign up for it. And actually, for this week, no, not this week, starting next week, there'll be I'll keep informing you about it, but just letting you know, you can go to the website, check it out, see if this is up your alley. It's a lot of people find these concepts incredibly helpful in their day-to-day life. Okay, so number 4 is the fourth benefit, a hidden benefit really, of sitting with your unhappy emotions, is that you end up building up your own emotional tolerance for your own emotion. You end up building your emotional tolerance for your own emotion so that you are able to act in your own best interests, even when you're feeling very strong emotions. One of the biggest things that I see with people is that when they get upset, they get uncomfortable, they get angry, they get sad, they get scared, they get whatever, they get nervous, they get anxiety ridden. All of these are normal. We're designed to be able to feel the full range of human emotions. So nothing that I'm going to help you with is designed to step on or stifle these emotions. It's healthy to feel these emotions. It's totally okay. It doesn't mean anything bad about you. Even if you feel it more frequently than you like, it still doesn't mean anything bad about you. However, what happens is often when we can't tolerate our own emotion and we're desperate to get away from it, we do things that we really regret later. We do things that we wish we had done differently or could have done differently, right? I've had that experience in my life for sure, right? So let's talk a little bit about what that means. When you get used to sitting with your emotion, you can just have the emotion without trying to do something drastic to get it to go away. What does that mean? Number one, it means things like, if you know how sometimes you might kind of bite someone's head off and then later be like, wow, I don't know what got into me. I don't know why I just jumped down their throat. But I did, right? You're not going to do that if you can sit with an unhappy emotion, because when you bite someone's head off, metaphorically, when you bite someone's head off, that's not because you're feeling the emotion. It's because you're trying not to feel the emotion. You don't like something they said or are saying. You don't like something they're doing. And so you're trying to get that to stop by biting their head off. Okay? So you're going to notice that you don't feel the need to bite someone's head off if you can sit with an unhappy emotion. Now, again, that doesn't mean you don't have the emotion. It doesn't mean you don't want to talk to the other person about something that they did that you didn't like. Fair enough. I'm talking about doing something that you regret here, something you wish you hadn't done. So that's one example. Another example is investing. I've seen people do this a lot. They invest in something, they have a particular investment strategy with that asset. Something happens and the value of their asset goes down suddenly, their stock drops suddenly or something like that, and they get scared. It's okay. That's happened to me. I've gotten scared. The difference, that's not the problem. It's okay. It's okay to get scared. They get scared, though. They then want to get rid of that feeling. So they sell the asset at the worst possible time, right? At the bottom, kind of, oftentimes, because they're trying to get rid of this emotion of fear versus being able to, if they have a particular strategy, time when they're really thinking about when am I buying, when am I selling this, then they can stay with that strategy because they're like, yes, I am scared that it just crashed, but I don't need to relieve the sadness by selling the asset, right? I'm just giving you examples. I want to give you a few more because I want you to really see how this comes into play. Another thing is repeatedly texting or calling someone that you don't want to do. This could be post-breakup or could be for anything. And people often do that and they feel awful about it later. That also comes from not being willing to sit with their discomfort. So if you're texting someone 10 times at 2 a.m, that's because you feel uncomfortable, you feel emotional, you feel unhappy about something. Maybe you're afraid of what they're doing, maybe you're angry at them. I don't know, could be any of those, right? And you can't sit with it, so you have to text them 10 times in a row because you're trying to get an answer from them, trying to get some response. Maybe they're not responding because you need their response to get away from the emotion you're feeling, right? Keeps coming back to the same thing. Here's another one. Holding boundaries, right? This is another huge one. This used to be huge for me, which is, I used to find it when I was younger, very hard to hold a boundary. I find it hard to set the boundary, actually, but I'd also find it hard to hold the boundary. This is something, actually, we're going to talk about in our emotional self-defense course on October 3rd. But for me, this used to be really hard. And so what would happen is, if I did have a boundary and someone was pushing up against it, hey, I'm not going to show up under these circumstances. Let's say that's the boundary I set. And then they're like, come on, don't be unreasonable. Don't you care about me? Duh. And they're trying to get me to fold on the boundary, right? That's the sign that you need the boundary, right? If the other person's really trying to get you to fold on the boundary, that's a number one signal that you really need, the boundary is going to be good to have, right? But for me, what I would be feeling is like, I don't want this person to be mad. I don't want them to think I'm a jerk. And then I would be like, I would feel uncomfortable about that. And then I would want to relieve that discomfort by going, okay, not this time. I'll do it next time really I'm going to hold it, but not this time. We do this with our kids. We do this with our partners. We do this even with our bosses and work colleagues and direct reports, all that kind of stuff, right? We do this all the time. And what that ends up meaning is we don't have boundaries, because even if we set them, we fold on them because we're uncomfortable in the moment of holding the boundary. We capitulate on the boundary, and that's not the other person's fault. I hear a lot of people blame, well, if they didn't keep pushing my boundary, why are they making me feel guilty about it? I mean, look, I wish they wouldn't try to, guilt trip you about it. I'm in favor of people not doing that, but it's not their fault if you fold on the boundary, right? If you fold on the boundary, it's because you're feeling uncomfortable, you're unwilling to sit with the discomfort, and so you fold on the boundary to get out of your own discomfort and unhappiness, right? Now that's okay. I'm not judging you for it. I'm not telling you you're dumb if you do that. If you're dumb, then everybody's dumb, because everybody does this. But it's still optional. It's optional. You don't actually have to do it that way. If you get better at sitting with your unhappy emotions, then you can hold the boundary even when you feel uncomfortable about holding the boundary. Because you could say, yes, I do. I feel guilty in this moment. I feel afraid in this moment, right? You could say it and say, yeah, I'm just going to sit with that and not cure it by capitulating on the boundary. So that's another example. Here's another one more. Unhealthy behaviors. Holy cow, I see this all the time. People feeling uncomfortable in some way, unhappy in some way, and they try to cure it by distracting themselves with binging a Netflix series, or binging literally on food, or smoking a cigarette, right? People do these kinds of things because they can't sit with their unhappy emotions. So can you see what kind of crazy, awesome benefit this could be? If you can be a person that can sit with uncomfortable emotions, you're free from all of that. Do you get that? That's going to change your existence. It's going to change your life. It's going to change your health. It's going to change your interpersonal relationships. Like, holy cow, it's going to change everything if you can do that. So, now, is it going to feel awesome to do it? Is it going to feel great while you're sitting with an uncomfortable emotion? Heck no. Gonna feel like crapola, my people. It's gonna feel like crapola. But that's the point, right? What if you could just let it feel like crapola for a little while? It's not gonna feel like that forever. That I can tell you, right? It's gonna feel like that for some temporary amount of time. In fact, it will probably feel bad for less time the more you're able to actually feel it. Because remember, when you fully feel an emotion, and that means you're fully receiving the message from your nervous system, which means your nervous system doesn't have to keep screaming the message and even escalating and raising the volume of the message. It doesn't have to do that because your nervous system detects that you are receiving the message instead of fighting or turning off or stamping on the message. So it's like, it's win-win, my people. It's win-win. Doesn't mean it's easy. I don't want to claim it's easy. It is not easy. But okay, so what? Lots of awesome things that you can get in life are not easy, but they yield incredible benefit for you, right? This one, what's great about this is it's not easy, but it yields benefits in every area, right? If you start exercising more, that yields a benefit in one or two, or three areas. But if you do this, it can yield benefit in all areas. So it's worth thinking about. Worth thinking about, my people. And listen, you can be a person that can be calm when everyone else is freaking out. And that doesn't mean calm in that situation doesn't mean you have to be not feeling any emotions and you have to not be scared. It means if you are scared or you are upset, you can sit with that emotion and not be in an urgent freak out to get rid of it. Because that's what actually freaking out is. When you're surrounded by people that are freaking out, the problem isn't that those people are uncomfortable or unhappy. The problem is that they are uncomfortable and unhappy and unwilling to be uncomfortable and unhappy. They're unwilling. So they're freaking out to try and get rid of that. Right? So think about that. Digest this. I hope this is helpful for you. I will see you guys next week.